Welcome to NFL Daily, where we say, see you next Tuesday on the beach. I'm Gregg Rosenthal.
Hey!
I'm in the Chris Wesseling podcast studio. I'm with Patrick Claybon and Colleen Wolfe. But look, it's a full house today.
Teamwork.
Greg, I'm usually not sitting this close to you. It almost
It is
feels
weird.
jarring.
Why are you sitting there?
I don't know.
Patrick took your seat. We didn't talk about seating
We
assignments.
didn't. This is our first time talking about it.
We
This
don't
is a
have
great
time to talk about it because we have a correspondent from
Oh
the
my
NFL annual league meetings. You hear her laughing, and if you check us out on YouTube, you will see her with the beautiful Breakers Resort water behind her.
That's
the colors
gorgeous.
are popping. Thank you, Jourdan, for joining us. Just a little vibe check to start the show. How's it going down there?
Clearly, everything is so terrible.
What?
No, it's fantastic. It's been good vibes. Some animated discussion about the Tush push and not much else. That's really been the main topic of discussion. Tabled it for now. I know you guys will get to it and what I assume will be a fantastic show. But yeah, it's been really, really interesting here. Lots of side sessions, reporters, coaches, executives. It's all happening here in Palm Beach, Florida.
Jourdan, are there any particular sides of this heated discussion on the brotherly shove?
Who's
push,
pushing
push?
for it?
Colleen. Okay, so what I like, and I'm assigning my own storytelling to this, obviously, but what I really like, the dynamic that's emerged here is the two sort of dominating coaching trees. So the Sirianni coaching tree with Shane Steichen, et cetera, and the Shanahan-McVay coaching tree with them backing their boy, Matt LaFleur, on this because the Packers sort of took the lead in the charge. I feel like someone drew the short straw in taking the lead on this, but taking the lead in these discussions and you'll notice in a lot of these quotes that you're seeing from these sessions that it's all the Sirianni people advocating for the Tush push to remain in existence with some great argument backing up that. And I think you guys know where I stand on this. And then on the other side of things, it's LaFleur and McVay, who's on the competition committee, and Raheem Morris, and they're all talking about how they are against it. So it's a little tree battle here in the land of palm trees.
It's kind of giving rival fraternities almost.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I'm picturing the league meetings.
Are they not hanging out as much now? Because
and a lot of pastel, Colleen. A lot of pastel.
Oh, well, they're resort wear. They break it out this time of year.
it's Tuesday, and we will get to, the Tush push ban being tabled for now. And there are some details we'll get into. But while we have you, Jourdan, I know the league meeting party is on Monday night.
Oh, wow.
Oh, shoot.
I have an insider that told me Serena Williams was there randomly. I mean, how's that?
Yes.
I'm sure a lot of dorky sports writers just told her, came up to her.
I think we saw it on Twitter, though, right? Didn't we see pictures of Serena?
Well, I saw her at a summit. They had Caitlin Clark there. They were talking about the future of women's sports, but she hung around for the party, which is great. What was going on at the party? Give us a little vibes. And does that also mean maybe the coaching trees, they're not talking to each other even?
Be careful what you say about the party.
Yeah, nice try, Greg. First of all, yeah, nice try. No, it was cool. So I don't fangirl much because we work in the NFL. We see a lot of people we really admire all the time.
Yeah, you're built different. It's okay. You can say it.
Built different. But that's why I advocate for the Tush push, by the way. But I also, when I saw Serena Williams at the league party, she not only looks like she could still win any tournament she wanted, but also she floats like she's this ethereal, graceful. I squealed, I giggled. I was instantly transported to my most, basic reactions and instincts. I checked my hair just in case she saw me, she is incredible. It was really cool what her and Caitlin Clark were here to do, to really talk about investing in flag football and women's sports and the future of different ways to invest and partner and expand those efforts across the league. And it was cool. I talked to a lot of executives and coaches, partners and their kids who were so thrilled that was the case. Now, on the other side of things, and not to, make this seem like it's any less cool, But one of my favorite things also that I saw over the course of this week, and it does sound like a Mad Lib, I understand, but it was indeed Guy Fieri walking around with an unlit cigar, with Jay Glazer, sort of holding court at all of these things. And guys, like, turns out, and I've never met this man, turns out he's just lovely. He's just a very kind person.
That's what I've heard.
He's dynamic, you know. Don't ask him about Flavortown. A source says that, you know, he gets a little sensitive about that.
He's the mayor.
You know,
he's omnipresent for a reason.
Yeah, right.
I saw him in the passenger seat of his Chevy Camaro just rolling down the street at the Atlanta Super Bowl.
Is it red?
With the like music just absolutely cranked, and he wasn't even driving. He's just waving from the passenger seat like the mayor, because everyone just wants to say hi.
Like a parade
to Guy Fieri. He really is the best. I was having an argument with Emeka this week, and we are way off track here. Is he the most successful reality show winner ever? Because that actually is how he was launched. Was Next Food Star. So it's Kelly Clarkson, it's Carrie Underwood, it's Guy Fieri. I don't know who are the other options. I think you could make the argument it's Guy.
Yeah, unless you want to take the Star Search route and include like Usher and Britney Spears.
Okay, that's a previous generation, but that's fair.
The mayor of Flavortown.
Sorry, Jourdan. Meanwhile, she's holding up her phone. How tired is your arm right now?
Did you guys need me anymore, or is that it?
I mean, Jourdan, just to your point about Serena, I did the same exact thing with Serena at the Super Bowl. She walked past me, and I felt like a teenager. I immediately grabbed my phone, and I'm never on top of these things. I'm always missing the moment. Like I don't get my camera out in time, whatever. I had it out so fast, and the video is so cool. She's so cool. She really does float. You're 1000% correct. She has this aura around her. She's just cool. Like everything about her is cool. And I will never in this lifetime reach anywhere near the coolness that she is.
Yeah, and I have to tell you, so like sports writers are famously like anything free food, like that's where everyone's attention is. Free food, free drinks. Like this league party, I had to move indoors because there was a bunch of lightning and a hurricane warning or something. I might be off on that factually, but something was happening that caused an alarm. And so everyone moved inside. Free drinks, as I mentioned. And the Parmesan wheel was getting everyone's attention. And that was on one side of the room. However, when Serena walked in, it was like this like plush, it was like the prom queen, like, you know, in the 90s movies, and everyone just whipped their heads around and like, oh my God, she's so freaking cool.
Of all the cheeses.
I know.
Parmesan wheel. I've never been to these meetings. This is awful.
Next time. Jourdan, we appreciate the important groundbreaking reporting you have done and the beautiful backdrop.
Yes.
It's worth it. You don't have to work out your arms today.
Incredible.
Thank you, Jourdan.
Love you, Jourdan.
Thanks, guys. Have a fun. See you next Tuesday. Love you. Bye.
See you next Tuesday.
Yeah, and all respect to Serena Williams, but that comment about like she could go back out there and play, a little disrespectful to the current ladies. I don't think she's going out there and beating Arena Sabalenka or Iga, my girl, right
Pagula? Is that the...
Yes. Shout out to Roger Goodell representing the NFL Super Bowl hat at the Jesse Pagula Arena Sabalenka Miami final.
Did you see her steal Sabalenka's margarita? The post-game show.
That clip. We've had a lot of women's tennis talk. I'm afraid.
Women's sports, guys.
Where would you seat Serena right now? Where would you seat Serena?
Like if she tried to go back and play?
Yeah, you watched a couple videos. She worked on it for a month. Where would you seat her in the next Open tournament?
Like 25, maybe.
Really?
If that. I mean, you're basing it on how she ended her career. She was trying to win back then too.
Right.
Yeah, it's tough.
Sounds like she could play.
Yes, she would be good enough to beat most of the tour. But I'm just saying, respect this show. If we want to start off talking a little Serena, talking a little scene setting, talk a little tush push, we're going to. The rest of the show, we're really just going through the news. We're going through some rule changes, and we're also gonna have a special appearance once again by the New York Giants in their escape room which now has added Russell Wilson to the room. So I'm excited about this.
Coming up.
If you listened last week, an outstanding appearance by Joe Shane and Jameis Winston and Colleen, of course, talking about that escape room. But yeah, let's talk about the tush push. Right now, the idea that they would ban it has been tabled. According to a reporter from ESPN, Catherine Kaler, I believe, she said it was about even in the room, 16-16. They suggested that perhaps the rule proposal will be changed and they might re-vote on it. So we're not done talking about this, but for now it is tabled. Let's actually listen to Rich McKay, who is the head of that rules committee.
On the health and safety, that exact discussion of, there's not that many plays, there's not that much data, there's not, all that was discussed. I think from a health and safety standpoint, a lot of people are concerned of what may be, not opposed what has been. But I still think that it went to many different directions beyond health and safety. Just the traditionalness of the play, the idea that you could push another player, the idea that we prohibit pushing on the defense, but we don't prohibit it on the offense. It just went in all those different directions. It didn't just stay on health and safety.
Okay, so the whole health and safety thing is just seems vibes-based. Like, I actually believe Sean McDermott, when he talks about it, he seems the most aggressive about it among all the coaches. It's like, we just want to prevent future injuries, but there's no, evidence that there would be future injuries. It seems like so.
I mean, why don't you just have your defense prevent some extra yards there in that situation? I'm just saying.
The Eagles sent out a tweet also just at least feeling like they got a stay of execution that I appreciate, which was just like the emoji for the tush push, which is officially a Georgia peach and a hand stopping it. So congratulations to the Eagles.
I wish McKay would have been more firm as opposed to saying a lot of people are concerned about what may be and we don't have actual data there.
How vague is that?
Just say, hey, the people bringing up these concerns don't have the actual data to support it, and they shouldn't be bringing up those, because that's what he's essentially saying. And so there it is. There is no health or safety. We don't have enough data to determine that, and there we go. That's the end of the health and safety discussion.
I mean, I just feel like there was a rule that the NFL had, and they changed it in 2005, so players would be able to push ball carriers, and then no one took advantage of that until the Eagles did, and now everyone's upset.
And McKay also said in another soundbite that they don't like it when a rule seems specifically targeted at one team, that makes them feel uncomfortable, and generally is a sign that it's not a very good rule. So they are going to circle back. They talked about, we're going to look at the history of it. Why exactly did we, change the rule back in 20 years ago? And they might make the rule that there's no pushing or pulling on offense or defense. They'll talk about it soon. But 16-16, that's not close to getting it over the top. It has to be, 3 quarters, so that you have 8 more teams to convince. I hope the Eagles don't make it happen, because when Sean McVay spoke about it, they're just like, it doesn't look like a football play. It just looks like a rugby play.
No, it doesn't feel good. Play. It's a football play. Unless we're banning all quarterback sneaks, and it would be the Jalen Hurts rule. It's not like Kenny Pickett was out there grinding out yards. This would be the Jalen Hurts rule.
One thing I liked that Sirianni said too was it was almost like a warning. If you make this rule,
which is how he speaks.
We're still gonna sneak it. He's like, we're still gonna sneak it. We don't call the play. We don't teach the play any different. He was arguing against the notion that somehow they do it differently than a normal sneak. He's like, we coach the sneak the exact same way, and our sneak would be just as successful.
Yeah, he said that the Eagles work so hard to master the fundamentals of the play, arguing it would be unfair to ban the push because other teams aren't successful with it.
That's fair. And I appreciated how really cogent Nick Sirianni was at such an early time in the morning. We actually have a picture of him. This is courtesy of Zach Berman at the PHLY podcast. And just to circle back to our show on Monday, Nick Shook and I were talking about the coaches that were annually the ones that looked the most tired and maybe had the longest night the night before of the coaches. Mike Tomlin was always high on that list. Kyle Shanahan was another one. Nick Sirianni, definitely on that list.
You know what? Good for him. Won the Super Bowl this year. You do your thing.
It could be a bad still,
It could be. I'm being totally unfair. It's also a bad draw by the NFC coaches. They get the morning after the party, whereas... the other coaches, but they're probably partying. They're here in the breakers. They're hardworking guys. They deserve it.
And the party is probably after the party, right? Nobody's really turning up
exactly.
at the party.
There's multiple parties within the party.
You're right.
I've never been invited to either one.
You're right.
Same.
But sometimes some people don't pace themselves. They might be not the ones that make it out as long. But you're right.
They shouldn't be coaching it up.
The more it's not usually the coaches. That's fair. The more embarrassing performances are after the party that I've seen. Just seems like a bad idea. Like
hydrate, everybody.
It's still ultimately a work function. It's still kind of, Christmas parties have taken out a lot of employees over the years, and this feels like a similar situation. You just want to be careful about. The Lions' proposal about playoff seeding was tabled, but I did see from Dave Burkett, who covers the Lions in Detroit, that there's optimism that it could still pass with tweaks. So I don't know what those tweaks are. Just hold that thought. We'll see. Their proposal was about the NFC North, for instance, last year, the Vikings would have been seeded over the NFC South winner, the wild card winners getting a higher. The wild card.
I agree.
Records. Yeah, you like that?
I love that rule. I think that's how the rule should be. I don't think it's really fair if you are in a mediocre division that you are getting a home game. Like, the best teams should have the home games.
Yeah, Sean McVay's point, like, hey, you're de-emphasizing winning the division. Yeah, that's the point.
Yeah.
We're emphasizing all the other games.
Yeah.
That's the point. Like, it's not an argument to me that this division title is like nobody's putting up division title banners.
Right. And Seattle won the division when they had the Beastquake, but they were hosting, I believe, like a 12-win Saints team, something like that. This year. I guess the Beastquake wouldn't have happened. I'm almost making a case against it. But that game, it wasn't really fair. That Saints team kind of had earned that home game. You still get to make the playoffs. You still could have done the Beastquake in New Orleans. We are going to expand replay assist. That's something we talked about last week where like the replays. I know you've really studied up on these rules changes.
My God.
You've even called an expert.
If there's anyone that loves rules, it's me. I love rules. I love following rules.
Fact.
I hate when people break rules.
You do a weekly segment, famously, on NFL Game Day Morning
I know you
with
guys watch.
Walt Anderson.
My guy Walt Anderson and Mooch. It's really fun. I swear to God, I love it. It's me and Mooch's favorite segment. And we have multiple calls with Walt Anderson throughout the week, and he sends us the videos that the teams get of all the cut-ups from the week and the different things that they're emphasizing. And I talked to Walt before this show.
Yes.
And he was talking about the expanded replay because that was a topic multiple times on our Sunday show. So now if there's a call that's egregiously wrong, they can pick up the flag. They can never throw a flag down with replay assist. They can only pick it up. But if a ref or if a call is for a face mask or a horse collar or
roughing the passer, roughing the kicker,
and it's wrong, then that will be fixed.
Progress.
I love
progress.
Yes, expand away. Let's continue to expand. And I know there's folks out there that's like, oh, Patrick's arguing against refs having jobs. No, I just want to see them in like an executive role in that when you see executives and don't necessarily know what they do, like that's what I would like refereeing to be like.
And all executives have assistants.
Yeah,
and
there
that's
we go.
what this
Like
is.
the like the umpire in tennis, for instance. At this point, because everything is electronic, you're not really sure what they do. Although when they went electronic, that did cost a lot of people jobs.
But there are still a lot of subjective calls that replay assist will never assist.
Yes, I don't think they're ever going to go back to pass interference being part of that. The touchbacks will be taken out to the 35-yard line, so that's exciting.
Yeah.
If you send a touchback, a lot more kickoff returns.
Exactly, because when it was at the 30 before, the average drive start was at the 29 they found. So that was just like a 1-yard difference. Now it will be a 6-yard difference. That's huge.
Yeah.
Colleen is so prepared for the rules part of the show that I just feel like we're in the way. I kind of want her to lead the way, and I know you're so unprepared for the rest of the show.
I don't know. I didn't even know there was other things.
I want you to cook
show.
now. No,
Okay.
it's like for my Celtics, when Sam Hauser comes off the bench, like get him his 10 3-point attempts in the 8 minutes that he's in the game.
Listen, this will incentivize teams to force kickoffs.
I am excited about that. That was a really good rule. I also noticed they changed the overtime rules, and now both teams get the ball. But overtime is going to stay at 10 minutes. They had originally said they'd expand it to 15 minutes, but they're going to keep it at 10 minutes. But both teams get the ball now in regular season overtime. I'm fine with this, but I think there could be repercussions.
Like what?
Like what?
like more ties. It's just encouraging more ties. Not that there's like going to be a flood of ties, but if the average amount of ties per year, and I have no idea what it is, I would guess it's about 1, if that, it might like double,
I don't think so.
You don't think so?
Might
go to like 2.
I feel like it. Yeah, I don't know about that.
Just because now both teams get it and you're going to run out of time.
That's fine. As long as, right, because since the rules are consistent now from the regular season to the postseason, and regular season games do impact the postseason, it's what makes the most sense.
But they're not consistent. This is not consistent. The regulation in the regular season, it'll be 10 minutes and then the game's over. So take yourself back to the Super Bowl between the 49ers and the Chiefs. The 49ers have that long field goal drive, which took forever. Now, they might have played it even differently. They probably would have tried to take as much time off it as possible. Then the Chiefs get the ball. They would have only had, if it was a regular season game, a couple minutes to go drive down the field. They probably would have been having to play faster and probably would have had a field goal attempt. But although you really never know, the whole world would be different. I'm saying if that was a regular season game. If it's a postseason game, then you can just play it forever.
Mm-hmm. Well, okay. Also, a tie, it sucks when you're watching the game. It sucks if you're playing the game. But at the end of the year, when all of the seeding and the records mean something extra, those ties are good for teams. It's better.
I don't hate the tie as much as other people do.
No, there's this group of people who do this performative, I hate ties. It's bad. It's the worst thing. Like, no.
I hate a tie in real time, but
I would prefer to have a winner to the game, but when we're like grinding people into pulp, 30 minutes after the game, it's like, okay.
Plus, it brings about the worst cliche in sports, which is that it's like kissing your sister.
Just why?
Yeah.
Why? That should be banned. Not the tush push.
Who made that original?
Yeah.
Because I mean, there's a whole lot of people who are just, they can't have an original thought and they just repeat things that they heard.
Yeah.
But who's the first person to say that? Because I have some questions.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like kissing your sister on the cheek. Is that okay? That's fine.
No,
Never had a
because I feel
I
like
don't
the
know.
implication is not cheek.
That's not good.
I don't like any of it.
Our research department, led by Eric Roberts and Chris Babona, say that we've had 5 ties since 2019.
Okay.
So that's in 6 seasons. So my 1 per year was about right.
How many did we have last year? None?
We actually haven't had any since 22.
Yeah.
But that's just random. There was 2 in 22. And then 1 in 19, 20, and 21. So we've had a little while. The last tie was Commanders Giants back in 2022.
So NFC Easty of them.
Edgar Rip Miller in 1946 is credited with the kissing your sister.
Come on, Edgar.
I love how absolutely random this show is. Let's just wrap the rules part of it, and then we're going to take a little break. The NFL shortened the time necessary to flex a TNF game. It used to be 4 weeks. Now it's 3 weeks. It's not really that important.
Yeah.
The Lions' idea to eliminate automatic first downs for holding calls doesn't pass. Dan Campbell wasn't totally giving up, said it had a little support in the room, but that did not happen. Teams can now wear throwbacks 4 times a year.
I love that.
3. Yeah. I like that.
More throwbacks.
If you wear them 8 times in 2 years, though, just make that the uniform.
And then this isn't a rule, but I just thought I would put it here at the beginning of the show because it affects us the most. We're playing a triple header on Christmas now. Have you heard about this? 2 Netflix games and 1 Amazon Prime game. Now, I don't know if this is going to be annually, but this is a Thursday. It's traditionally a football day. They're loading up. We've gone from 1 to 2 to 3.
I hope there's 4 next year.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Maybe it's the late November birthday, but I've always loved Thanksgiving. And so making everything Thanksgiving is better. And so now we get it on Christmas without like the genocide denial. And so that's cool.
Do you usually work it?
No, not Thanksgiving. I'll come in and work.
2 different perspectives here. Yeah. Thanksgiving, though, you get stuck working.
But yeah, league guy.
Yeah.
Everything Thanksgiving.
Oh, yeah. More football.
We don't
need holidays with our families.
Who are they?
No. We want to spend holidays here, right here, or at the game.
Facts.
Yeah.
I'm always in support of more football in general.
Obviously.
I famously was the originator
I love football so much.
of the idea that we should just play 2 games a day for the entire NFL season. They made up a whole mock schedule. And actually, there's no days off. That was before I had my second child, and I've now come around to that's a bad idea.
Gregg, you really did this, and you really thought about it.
Yes.
And really pictured yourself in this scenario.
This was over a decade ago. I thought 2 games a day would just spread it out.
Yeah.
Everyone's excited for every game then.
Every day is football.
Now,
every day is a Sunday.
So
look forward to
Christmas. Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot to make that such an NFL day. I have mixed feelings. I do have mixed feelings.
I like if we're gonna have a Christmas slate, I feel like one game is good.
I'm kind of with you there, and yet more football. We'll be covering it here.
Oh yeah.
On NFL Day. I have a little bit of mixed feelings on Christmas in general because my family leaves me for it. And so I have to pretend that Christmas
They leave you every year?
is the weekend before. Yes. And then everyone hears that and then they get bummed out by it and then they start like, oh, you should come over to this. I think, no, it's fine. And so I actually thought like it was kind of like a nice free day.
I have been on that side where I'm like, come over.
Yeah, no, and it's fine. But now that there's football, it's like, okay, you can't even just chill and go to like a movie or just whatever. You got to kind of watch the. It's just
Jeselnik.
Yeah.
As long as they don't touch Christmas Eve, I'm good.
They do. We had a Christmas Eve NFL Network game a few years ago.
Hopefully.
3 games on Christmas. Looking forward to it, Eric. I hope you're ready. Christmas night, we're doing a show.
He stays ready. So he doesn't have to get ready.
So mad right now. Let's take a quick break. We're going to come back. We're going to talk about all the NFC coaches. They talked at the coaches' breakfast.
Ooh.
One of the more random annual traditions. And yes, we're going back into that escape room with the Giants.
Yes, we are. Previously on NFL First Dates. Jameis Winston and the Giants are in the heart of the Lower East Side at NFC East Escape. The kind of place you find on a damp, gloomy night next to an abandoned warehouse covered in graffiti. Inside the escape room, an unforgettable night is unfolding. Jameis, ever the showman, leads a captive audience through the Dallas chamber. Here, distractions abound, limits are tested, and the photosensitive will not survive. It's a first date with grave consequences. Flashing lights, pom-poms, and ear-splitting country music fills the space as the group desperately tries to solve star-shaped puzzles. In the far corner of chaos, little Jordan Humphrey unlocks a hidden compartment. Click. The room goes silent. Chauncey Golston gasps. A holographic projection of Jerry Jones splashes the wall. His message will change the course of this evening. Beads of sweat begin to form on Tommy DeVito's face. The long hots at dinner were a bad idea. Jameis grabs Tommy by the shoulders and tells him to stay focused. Suddenly, the room feels smaller. It's getting warmer and more difficult to breathe as time ticks on. Jerry speaks in cryptic code, saying things like, "We're all in. Stats are for losers." And I tried to get us what I thought was the equivalent of a Romo with Quincy Carter in the 3rd round. He ends the odd rant with 4 words. The future is calling. A phone rings next to Brian Daboll. He doesn't answer because he doesn't yet know who's calling the plays next season. Jameis springs into action to take the call. He's in full control right now until he hears the voice on the other end. The glint in his eye immediately disappears. The call is coming from inside the house. An unexpected addition to the room. A hidden door swings open to reveal the sly grin on Russell Wilson's face. Heard you guys were doing some divisional bonding. His voice echoing through the room. Mind if I join the party? Just a little friendly competition to be continued.
Brilliant.
Time ticks on. Keeps on ticking. Will they get out of the escape room? I don't know if they're going to get out of the NFC East escape.
I don't know either. I don't know if Dable ever gets out.
It sounds like they had firm leadership, but now
stability is completely thrown.
Too many cooks.
Mm-hmm.
Also, just excellent writing in so many different ways, but also picking the 3 funniest names you could from the Giants: Chauncey Golston, Little Jordan Humphrey, and Tommy DeVito. So it's just that's great little. It's the small touches.
Yeah, Chauncey Golston was came from Dallas.
That makes sense too, but just works. Wow, we're gonna have to make this a weekly segment.
Yeah.
Colleen visits.
Next, they'll go to the Eagles section.
Ooh, speaking of which, what a transition.
Hey!
Let's talk about Nick Sirianni. So we talked tush push earlier, but just in terms of the team, there were a couple little nuggets. And, I'm diving deep. So most of these we can be quick on, but just some of the nugs that came out from the coach's breakfast on Tuesday morning. And yes, it's very early when they start this. He was asked about Dallas Goedert, and he said, right now, he's on our team. We'll see what happens and how that happens. And that door is not just back open. That answer makes me think Dallas Goedert's not going to be on the Eagles unless they're playing some sort of hardball publicly. They don't get the benefit of him not being on the Eagles financially until after June 1st. So maybe that's part of it, or maybe they're trying to work out a trade, but very interesting.
Is Howie trying to get like an extra draft pick here? Maybe a 4th rounder or something?
Yeah, just a few more shots at the barrel. But I wonder, you get diminishing returns at some point because Dallas Goedert's skill set isn't just readily available out there. And there's no answer that's currently on the team.
Right.
And they've had such a good streak of tight ends in Philadelphia. Zach Ertz before that, even Brent Selleck.
And he can still play, but he has struggled to stay on the field. So I think that's where it's at, and them making decisions. And Howie Roseman was asked about it too, and he just said there's no update. Howie's been a tremendous player, and they signed guys Harrison Bryant, Kylan Granson. But now I'm kind of combining Howie comments, and he had another quote I wanted to talk about, but I think it should be married with this Goedert deal. He says, quote, "We are incomplete right now. Talent acquisition season has just started."
Oh, season SZN?
I mean...
Yeah, Howie only says it as SCN.
And it was pointed out on Twitter, I believe this was from Zach Berman as well, getting a lot of pop on this show, that at this time 3 years ago when they were last at the Breakers, Howie said something similar. And after that part of the offseason, they traded for A.J. Brown. They traded for Chauncey Gardner-Johnson.
Not Golston.
No. And there was another big offseason move that I'm forgetting about off the top of my head. But the point being, they brought in, it was James Bradbury bringing him in as a free agent who ended up playing a big role for them. And that makes me think, okay, I've been talking about the Eagles have been weirdly quiet this offseason, just picking around the margins. I thought they might push to the middle of let's really go for it. And now I'm kind of circling draft weekend. I'm thinking about Dallas Goedert. He could be part of this as part of some trades that they still have some significant moves to make. He's basically saying it.
Yeah, I mean, it's no secret, though, also. Everyone expects the Eagles and Howie Roseman to make a splash and make moves before the draft. That's what happens. That's what they do. But it is a strange strategy.
There's 2 tight ends with a first-round grade that might be available at 32, where that could ultimately determine how they go. And maybe maybe the draft is what explains the right now. And
there's a couple good, though, second-round tight ends, too, or Mason Taylor might be a guy they look at as a guy you would take in the first round, or Elijah Arroyo.
I would assume that they will trade out of that spot so someone else can hop in there and get the rights to a quarterback or something that they want to just take a flag on. I feel like that always happens with the last spot in the first round.
Well, that would doom Jackson Dart if somebody comes up and makes a trade with Howie at 32 for Jackson Dart. would spell disaster.
Maybe Nick was just like a little sweaty. It's early in the morning and stuff, but just the tone and the way he was answering this, I now kind of expect Dallas Goedert would not be on the Eagles.
Now that you put it into that perspective and seeing his photo and seeing that he maybe didn't look like he was at 100% himself, now that it has even more truth to it.
Art Rooney II spoke to reporters on Tuesday and was a little more revealing on the Aaron Rodgers front, saying, we keep hearing that he's headed in our direction. And so it seems to be that all signs are positive so far, ... And that the Steelers will, quote, wait a little while longer, but not forever. That they'll only have to wait a little while longer. He's basically saying this thing's happening. This is almost like the boss revealing more than the guys underneath them, Mike Tomlin or their GM wanted to. But he's basically assuming Aaron Rodgers is going to be on the Steelers.
I feel like he's just looking at his phone, waiting for the text to come through. Like this is like someone who is just sort of checking their phone every 5 minutes to see if this person texted them yet. No, still not there. I don't know. It's giving that.
It feels like everybody has been very careful at every step of the process, and this feels like the dangerous move where everybody is on tiptoes and you have to abide by the rules of this person who could do anything. You don't know what this person's a wild card. You don't know how they're going to make the decision or what's going to play into it, so you don't want to mess up. And when you're the person who ultimately is making the decisions in Art Rooney II, you can say things like this. I'm just concerned that the habitual line stepper that's involved that we're discussing, who people are afraid to criticize because they don't know what he's going to do, how's he going to react to like, oh, you're expecting it? Oh, well, nobody tells me what to do, right? That would be my concern.
And if you're already dealing with that, like, is this really the relationship you want?
Set a date. He should set a date.
A deadline is great. Because I'm wondering if at this point Aaron Rodgers is just asking for concessions from Arthur Smith, or like what is happening?
Who knows? We'll put a pin on it. More on this topic on Wednesday's show. I'm actually going to have Dave Damashek on the program.
You are?
And we are going to just present the case of why the Steelers shouldn't do this.
What about Fruit of the Year?
Well, I'll ask him about how that's shaping up so far.
Just thanks.
Before it's too late, we had to move this show up. Wait, that your very first podcast for the NFL is Shaq?
It was on the DDFP. So
okay.
I owe this headset to Dave.
Shaq, actually, when I auditioned for NFL Network, he was the person that was sitting at the desk with me while I auditioned. So he was like the faux analyst.
And he was obviously instrumental in getting
yes.
Without
the Shaq, I wouldn't be here.
Off the ground, around the NFL podcast, off the ground too. So he's the best. Everyone check out his latest YouTube video, by the way, for Dan Le Batard's show. It's outstanding. You'll find it there on Shaq's page. All right, let's go through this. Not a lot of other huge headlines, but when we're talking Steelers, it made me think of DK Metcalf. And Dave Canales volunteered to Kay Adams on her show that they were in on DK Metcalf. There was some reporting about that, but she asked him about like, hey, what about Tyreek Hill? And he was like, well, we were in on DK. There were some interesting conversations there. He also then said, well, but we've got Xavier Legette. We think he could be that guy. And when talking about the number 8 overall pick, he says we have to address defense. They were dead last in defense. So kind of tipping his hand there. I do wonder, though, I think this Tyreek Hill situation is bubbling as a possibility. And I would put the Panthers near the top of the list of a team just crazy enough to do it.
I don't know that it would be crazy. It would be who's willing to make the biggest financial investment in Tyreek Hill at this point.
Yes. I'm not saying crazy or even desperate, but I do think there's a risk-reward situation with Tyreek Hill that wasn't there as much for the Dolphins, in that his age and the money, and potential decline with everything else. And by everything else, I just think he takes management as a star receiver potentially on the decline.
I just can't picture Tyreek Hill in Carolina with that team and the way that they play and his personality in general.
I do think he would fit well with Bryce Young, though. Like Bryce Young and Tua, like a lot of yards after the catch. Like I could see that.
It could go great. Could also really blow up.
Yeah. I kind of want to see Tyreek out of that offense at this point. If
in Miami,
after 2025, I'm willing to be done with with this edition of the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. Everyone working there disagrees, but I know what you're saying. Raheem Morris was talking about Kirk Cousins. He just was like, hey, we really want him to be our backup, but if it's good for both of us, we would like to see a trade happen. We're kind of expecting a trade to happen by draft day. I mean, on draft weekend. Would you look forward to, Colleen, Kirk Cousins, week 1 starter, Cleveland Browns?
Oh, that's interesting. Because last year I'm thinking about how night 1 of the draft, Kirk Cousins was on the mind of everyone when the Falcons drafted a quarterback in the first round. And so if that happens again, that would be really interesting for Kirk Cousins. It doesn't make me all of a sudden think that the Browns are going to be good if Kirk Cousins is there.
No, and I'm checking the schedule. They're not on the schedule. I would like to see like a Falcons revenge game.
Oh, the Falcons-Browns revenge.
Yeah, that would be good. It's not on the schedule.
Who would it be revenge for?
I don't know. Paying me so much money and not telling me you're going to draft Michael Penix.
Right.
And then benching me when I clearly couldn't move.
So, but if draft night is the idea with the Browns picking 2, wouldn't it incentivize the Browns to do this before draft night?
Not if they have sort of a tacit agreement that Kirk wants to get past the draft and make sure that they don't take a quarterback, and that's the whole idea. And you trade him on day 2,
or maybe they're waiting for
you
else
trade
to give
him
more money,
trade him for some like
more
5th round
resources.
pick, and so that's happens on day 3. I don't know. Should be fine. Todd Bowles, I thought was interesting, said they really needed to draft a cornerback. Mike Vrabel said that you got to see Will Campbell, who's a potential number 4 overall pick, as a left tackle.
Hubba.
How can you not see him
that's
there?
That's what you got to do.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense, but people are
projecting. Well, it is a silly idea where it's like, oh, well, if he's not, just put him at guard. Like, no, he's a tackle.
Matt LaFleur in random left tackle news says their 1st round pick from a year ago will compete at left tackle, and confirmed Elgton Jenkins is going to play at center. They think he could be an all-pro center. He's bounced around all over that offensive line. This one might only interest me.
What is it?
But in Judy Batista, I think she's with me on this historical stuff that we get into. They have now decided, the NFL, that All-American Football Conference stats will count towards NFL stats. Can anyone in either room tell me what the All-American Football Conference is? I should have prepped you on this, but I didn't. Any idea? It was a league that merged with the NFL, but not the AFL. It was back like in the late 40s into 50 that merged with the NFL. And I believe there's a number of teams that still exist from the AFC.
Wes
AFC.
would love this discussion.
He absolutely would. I miss Wes
he
so
would
much.
have so much knowledge on this.
Okay, so the AAFC was 8 teams at the time. The NFL was 10 teams at the time. They forced a merger, and from that merger, the Cleveland Browns
were born?
Well, they were already there, winning titles with Paul Brown back in the AAFC. The San Francisco 49ers come from that, and then the New York Yanks, which eventually, I believe, became the Giants. Also,
confusing as a baseball team.
Shout out to the Los Angeles Dons. Did not know that was a team. The Dons.
What? We need to find merch.
And they play at the They played at the Coliseum,
Get
which
out of
literally
here.
still exists. But the big takeaway from me is that Paul Brown now gets like 27 more wins, so he moves up the all-time coaching list. He's now up to number 7. A lot of people would say maybe the most important person. If you had to choose one in the history of football, Bill Belichick would say Paul Brown would be the most important one, at least in terms of the NFL, like in terms of modernizing it. And then this one is the one I like. Marion Motley, who was also Belichick's favorite all-time player, a running back, fullback with the Browns, is now the all-time leader in yards per carry. Not counting quarterbacks. Like Lamar and Michael Vick are ahead of him, but in terms of running backs, Marion Motley. So I just thought if you want to know about football like that, that's something. Let's talk a little bit about Micah Parsons. As we were taping, Jerry Jones spoke about Micah Parsons' contract situation. Micah Parsons then quickly responded on Twitter. Let's listen to Jerry Jones.
The agent is not a factor here of something to worry about. And I don't know his name.
Oh.
And so my point is that I'm not trying to demean him in any way, but this isn't about an agent. The agent doesn't have one thing to do with what we're doing when we get on a football field against a team. Micah does.
Ooh.
There it is. Jerry Jones and I are on the same exact team. Since the agent is not an issue in this, what's the prohibiting factor?
I don't know, but that agent is David Mulugheta, who is the most powerful agent, I would say, in the NFL. One of the most powerful people, I would say.
Jerry knows his name.
In the NFL.
Has to.
Well, it could go both ways.
Maybe not. You're right.
I don't know. He might be saying that to make a point, which I would love. Or,
So petty.
He might just be getting up there. Micah Parsons responded on Twitter saying, "Facts, David is the best. I will not be doing any deal without him involved. Like anyone with good sense, I hired experts for a reason. There's no one I trust more. There will be no backdoors in this contract." Like, I don't even know what that means, how that is responding to the thing. But Jerry Jones, that was pretty disrespectful, I guess, or it's just ignorance. I don't know.
Or it's a proper analysis of the way that the system works.
Yeah.
David Mulugheta is an employee of Micah Parsons, who's going to harvest 3% of his earnings, or between 1% and 3%. I don't know. I don't know exactly what he's paying him for. Yeah.
I wasn't planning to bring this up either, but it's Mulugheta Day apparently across the national media. On First Take this morning, they were talking about Jimmy Haslam's comments, the Browns owner, about essentially how, they had the big swing and miss with Deshaun Watson. And as they were talking about that in context, all the hosts, and it was Stephen A. Smith, Shannon Sharp, and Ryan Clark, all went out of their way to praise David Mulugheta and saying what a great job that David Mulugheta did negotiating that contract. And they're all laughing about it and saying, like, what an amazing job that he did in that scenario. And so I do want to point out what he did in that scenario was essentially get the entire media landscape to stay quiet about how much the sexual assault allegations were going to affect the rest of Deshaun Watson's career, and kind of like look past that as a factor in what a contract would be, and convince the Browns to sign a sexual predator for $230 million, not only ruining their franchise because he was not good at football anymore, but because of all those allegations and the endless kind of court battles that he was in, and the suspension that kept him away from the game, potentially affected not only himself and how his career is basically over, but also made it a miserable experience to root for the Browns or play for the Browns or be employed by the Browns for 3 years. And those three guys are all laughing and saying, what a great job the agent did.
But also
not a great job.
There were teams lining up for this. So the Browns were just the ones that ended up with him, but it could have been the
Panthers or the Saints.
Yeah.
Or the Falcons.
Yeah, it honestly gives Mulugheta too much credit. The landscape was fine with Deshaun Watson coming back. That's how he came back. As Jimmy Haslam said, we'll give him credit for saying the thing. He wanted him, ultimately. And Mulugheta had a player who was in what we thought was the prime of his career, who was an actual free agent, and had the leverage in that situation. There were other agents. I would argue that in that position, could have negotiated a guaranteed
What
contract.
a plot twist that would be if you became an agent.
Yeah, it would be. And unfortunately, I would have to tell the people the truth, that the player is the person who's actually providing the labor. And if a team is interested in the services of the player, then they could contact the player and make the deal without me, right? But yeah, I'll take money. But this idea that he was necessary in that, way too many people were willing to give Deshaun Watson money.
Sure. But also, all these years later, this is an ultimate example of the classic tweet that you do not, under any circumstances, got to hand it to them.
Yeah.
You do not have to hand it to David Mulugheta. What he did in that moment, he was not ultimately in service of his client. Like any of it was not a good job.
Or any client, right? Where the league is now going to be more reluctant to give a player a fully guaranteed contract specifically because of this situation. Like it may have
bad for business.
It may have set everybody back.
Well, that was a detour I didn't expect to make.
A necessary one.
A very annoying thing to see this morning.
Truly.
Just stop. Let's just wrap with a couple little nuggets.
Okay.
Kyle Shanahan said they're going to bring in a kicker to compete with Jake Moody.
Ooh.
So you're on watch. Jed York, their owner, said that they're not far apart on Brock Purdy contract talks.
Okay.
So that's good.
I guess that agent is working out.
I don't want that to last all offseason. And then some contract extension talks, depending on the source. These were mostly from GMs and coaches. Derrick Henry, Terry McLaurin, Kyron Williams of the Rams. Terry McLaurin, of course, with the Commanders. Henry with the Ravens. They all might be getting some contract extensions. I would sign you guys to contract extensions if I could.
Well, thanks, Greg.
And not even take 3%.
I was gonna say
This would have been the crew last season if you're a real NFL Daily completist and you listen to all the shows and you're interested in this sort of minutia. Originally, the show was Colleen, Patrick, and myself, I believe, on Wednesdays. But scheduling didn't work out, and then you ended up doing Tuesday. But it would have been a great show.
would have been great.
It could be still.
It could still be.
Like it is.
Yeah, it is
literally
right now.
today.
Are you politicking for the schedule next year?
No,
right now?
I'm not.
I just want to have one.
These are the things, yes.
Yes,
Same. It's in the
We
title.
love football. We love our job.
So they have to.
We want to keep it.
They have to keep it going. But Tuesday is just a natural fit for you.
It is.
Wednesday, we love having you here on Tuesday, though, Patrick. Appreciate you.
Yeah, glad to be here.
We thank Jourdan Rodrigue of The Athletic for joining us as well.
I hope her arm is okay. Her shoulders must be burning.
Yeah, she's going to have to balance that out.
Everyone in the research department in the back, too. Christy Stapleton is here. Yes, we will be back on Wednesday with Dave Damashek.
Woo,
yeah, when we're going over like Mulligetta for the millionth time, football's back.